Hello, it's Amy, and I'm here once again with the Journal of Emily Shore, published in 1891. This is the diary of a teenage girl in the 1830s. And we are 84 pages into the journal. And today we're beginning with the entry for October 27th, 1834, and that was a Monday. So, here we go. A flock of wild geese flew over the gardens at a great height, so that we could hardly hear their cackling. They generally fly at the height of 1,500 or 2,000 feet, and always in some rectangular form, or some regular form rather. The flock we saw today formed a kind of angular line thus, and essentially she's made sort of a check mark, the check mark V shape. They say geese fly in a V shape, but if you look up, it's never a perfect V. One side of the V always tends to be just a little bit longer than the other side of the V. But here, I'll see if I can show you here. They've actually reproduced it in the text. So she saw some geese flying in the checkmark V formation. Their leader was a little way in front and was sometimes changed, as the followers were also occasionally. Their flight was remarkably steady. They went a little to the south of the west. They flew at a prodigious pace. Mr. Wells says they have been calculated to go at 90 miles an hour. Mrs. Astle and Miss Harriet called this afternoon. Miss Harriet, finding that I noted down in my journal when she promised to begin Milton, desired me to note down today also that she had actually begun it, and had nearly finished the book. This is indeed a wonderful occurrence, worthy of being noted down. I much doubt whether she will continue it, for she only began it to avoid being reproached for her neglect of it whenever she came to Woodbury, where it must be confessed she has hitherto met with nothing but reproofs on this account. However, I feel very much pleased with her now for 3 reasons. First, for beginning Milton. Secondly, because she saw the flock of wild geese. Thirdly, because she gathered the other day a nosegay of all the wildflowers she could find. Captain Astle has gone abroad for his health, and Miss Harriet told me that the only specimen of natural history which he intends to bring home with him is a jar of potted frogs. November 11, Tuesday. Most small birds now find their food on the ground. The robin, chaffinch, hedge sparrow, and even the little wren. The wren makes the shrubberies resound with his harsh, jarring note. He sings also, but not very constantly. He always flies low. His flight is very peculiar and resembles that of no other bird. He is now becoming familiar, haunts the house, and even perches on the window ledge. The missel thrush still haunts the garden, though not abundantly. November 15, Saturday. The birches are very richly tinted and not at all bare. The mulberry is quite naked and covered with brown buds. The Virginian creeper, the apples and peaches are also in full bud. The robin and wren sing, the ox-eye and blue tit still haunt the garden. Great flights of rooks mixed with jackdaws fly over, and they rest on their way in the tall trees. Fieldfares, blackbirds, thrushes, chaffinches feed now on haws, of which there is a vast abundance in the hedges. The creeper still finds its food on the bark of trees. All the goldfinches and wagtails have left our garden. A very few of the latter are sometimes seen uttering their usual cry, chippeet. The golden wren has 2 or 3 sharp whispering notes, but not his low squeak. He now haunts woods. December 1st, Monday. November is now finished, and actually, oh wonders of wonders, we have not had a single fog during this foggy month. I doubt whether such a thing has ever before occurred in the memory of men. Moreover, except sometimes at nights, we have had rain only 4 times, one of which was only a short shower. There has been 1 snow shower, and 2 days only of hard wind. The weather in general has been warm, sunny, and delightful, with very few cold days and always exceedingly dry. This day, the 1st of December, is beautifully bright, very warm, therm 46 degrees, but with a very high wind. And that 46 degrees must obviously be 46 degrees Fahrenheit. as they would have been using back in the day, and not Celsius. 46 degrees Celsius would be extremely, extremely warm and certainly unseasonable. Unseasonable for any season where she's at. December 3rd, Wednesday. Mr. Tabut, the hairdresser and bird fancier of Potton, was here today, and I obtained from him a good deal of interesting information about birds. He says that birds of all kinds, if taken from the nest at 10 or even 6 days old and brought up where they can hear no birds sing, will sing their own natural song, but they may be taught any bird's song by being placed near it, except only the skylark, which, though it will readily learn another song, will always have a little of its own, a very curious fact. Bullfinches and linnets are the easiest to teach. My idea is that all birds sing from imitation, as they can be taught any song, but there are many facts for and against this notion. Mr. Tabut has never known a bird dumb which has never heard a song. He says that there are snowbuddings to be seen in summer on Gamingley Heath, and that at Muggerhanger, 7 miles off, Aberdivines are not uncommon. At Gamingley there are many rare and curious birds, among which are the Reed Sparrow, the kingfisher. The Reed Sparrow, he says, does not sing, but is only a harsh cry. In this he agrees with Moody, but both Bewick and White give it a soft song. Moody says it has been confounded with other reed birds, which sing sweetly. Mr. Tabut has seen the nest, he says. It is suspended among reeds. I shall try, if possible, to get a sight of them. December 10, Wednesday. Mrs. Clutterbuck showed me some splendid drawings by her father-in-law. They are sketches of scenes abroad and in England. Though not coloured and only outlines in pencil with scarce shadowing, they display a very great talent for drawing, and the effect given by a few spirited strokes is quite remarkable. Though boldly, perhaps hastily executed, they are by no means too broad and coarse, but accurate and delicate. It is this style of drawing at which I aim, and I shall neglect shading almost entirely, for I see that in clever hands it is quite unnecessary in producing effect. I cannot bear what the Quarterly Journal of Education calls the neat sampler-like style practiced by so many ladies. December 23. There was no singing at 9 o'clock a.m., but the wood was filled with the clear, whispering chirps of tits and gold-crested wrens who were flitting in the numbers from tree to tree, and sometimes alighting on the ground. There were blue tits, ox-eyes, long-tailed tits, coal tits, and even the marsh tit, which I never saw before. It is about the size of the coal tit, with a black head and whitish cheeks, but no spot on the back of the neck. The wings are dusky and the breast brownish white. Its cry and habits resemble those of other tits. I now know every kind of tit, except the crested and bearded tit, which are very rare. Skylarks and titlarks assemble in vast flocks, the former with their short, subdued winter warble. Mr. Keel told me today he has seen a white sparrow in Potton. Flights of jays, 8 or 10 at once, sometimes enter the garden to make war on their great enemy, the missel thrush. The creeper makes a pretty loud, shrill cry, several times repeated, as it flies from tree to tree. December 25, Thursday, Christmas Day. Going up into my room, I heard a nuthatch uttering his deep, loud cry, and I then heard a continued tapping or hammering on the boughs of an old pear tree before my window. I could not, for some time, see the bird. At last I discovered him flying to another tree. The nuthatch, though clumsy and heavy in shape, is brisk and lively and very active in creeping up the branches and boughs of trees, which he does like the creeper, but not so silently and timidly. His plumage is handsome, bluish-gray above and red-orange beneath. He is a difficult bird to catch a sight of. I never saw him in a pine or fern, but often in oaks. He feeds as much on insects as on nuts, even when the latter are abundant. And that brings us to the end of the year 1834. So next time we'll be picking up with the year 1835. So I believe at this point she is 14 or 15 years old. That's one of the curious things. She doesn't really mention her birthday at all. but she will be 14 or 15 at this point. And it looks like we have no entries for the month of January. We're going to be beginning in Chapter 6 here on February 10th of 1835. So I'll be back tomorrow to begin the year 1835. And in 1834, she certainly had a good liking for observing birds. And I enjoyed that. I hope you've been enjoying this too.